And we're back. And we're going to be talking about, if you haven't guessed from my background, hey, they're slappy. We're talking about R.L. Stine. Most of you are probably familiar with the man with his Goosebump franchise. If you're not, he was a young adult horror writer for teens and middle schoolers, pretty much. A lot of people think he is dead, and I'm going to spoil the entire video early. He is not. He is alive. He is old, but he is alive. Um, I grew up in the 90s, and that was probably the first time I had ever experienced what I'm going to call fandom, book fandom at that. Because I remember walking in the library one day, like I normally do, or being escorted by my mother because I was a young lad, and she hand held me to the way to the young adult kids area, and be like, "Okay, you find books now. I'm going to be over here." And be like, "Okay." I remember looking around and just be like, it's all Goosebumps. Like all the end caps, a lot of the front shelves that you could see at a glance, all Goosebumps. I remember hordes of new kids being in there, like kids I've never seen before. There were like a few of us in there before, but nothing like this. And it really felt like an alien invasion, and I felt uncomfortable because there's just too many people. I don't know what they did. Like they ran a newspaper ad, made phone calls, because this is before social media. But I remember it being like that for months and months, maybe even a year, because he would have titles come in. So I don't know when the library made that switch, but it was an interesting time. Though I didn't like that, it did bring something I did like, because I remember the elementary school I was going to. The kids were all reading the Goosebumps series. I wasn't yet, but I started to because of that. So it influenced my reading culturally because of the fandom hype, I guess. I read them. I thought they were interesting. A little bit funny here and there because I was a kid, right? Ah, ha, ha. Funny joke. Ha, ha, ha. Very dad joke related. Um, and yeah, it was a phase in life. And the only other time I ever experienced this was when I was in high school or middle grade through high school, and that was with Harry Potter because that came out during that same schooling bubble I was in. So I had R.L. Stine, and then a few years went by, and then Harry Potter, boom. And there have been other things like that, like Lord of the Rings as well, had a resurgence, I guess, when the movies came out, and everybody started reading those again. So cultural impact, it was a phenomenon. There we go. A cultural phenomenon. Those are words. So the rest of the video, I'm going to give you kind of a brief overview of R.L. Stine and a lot of his works and pen names, and then we're going to look at actually some of his books as well. I'll have a lot of links down below. They may not be the exact books we cover in the video, but they'll be good enough if you're interested in picking up the Goosebump franchise. So let's go ahead and get started here. So if you remember the neon Goosebump covers, because that's what they look like at a cafeteria Jello that started a cult pretty much, that was R.L. Stine. What happened to him? I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but plot twist, absolutely nothing haunted. He never left. He was born Robert Lawrence Stine, so R for Robert, L for Lawrence, and Stein for Stein, obviously, in October 8th, 1943, which makes him 82 years old, from Columbus, Ohio. And he was a shy book kid who pretty much finds a typewriter at the age of 9 and never breaks up with it. At Ohio State, he edits the campus humor magazine and then sprints to New York to do the American dream. Write jokes for rent money, because that is the American dream. I don't know if he can do that anymore, but he did it. So before the Screams, he was a comedy factory. He launches Bananas, which is a scholastic humor magazine for teens, and drops gag books as Jovial Bob Stein, which sounds like a clown name. Yeah, but it was in fact his government byline. Also turns up as Eric Affaby on more humor titles, and because one wallet can't hold that many library cards, Zachary Blue on some interactive game book projects. I mean, you're writing whatever you can because you got to pay the bills, because writers get paid peanuts if you're not aware, especially back then. Maybe like 1 cent a word. maybe half a cent. Um, Late 80s, The Jump Scare. He tries a thriller called Blind Date, but he doesn't expect anything to come of it, but it's a big hit. So then he goes on to write The Babysitter, which again is like, okay, I don't know why they like this. My other stuff's better. And then he goes on to write Hit and Run. Um, and then he has the New Girl, which is a young adult one, which nerves a caffeine drip. Each chapter ending with she turned around and, which is biggest FU cliffhanger that could be, but he did it and people loved it. So 89 rolls around, and then we have Fear Street. Welcome to Shady Side, where you got teens, twist, and sub-series like Super Chiller, Fear Street Saga, Seniors, Knights. It's basically 9021. Oh no! As it's very formulaic, and I would consider it like book campy. And if that's not a term, I'm making it a term. Book campy. That is now mine. 1992, Goosebump Hatches. Uh, Again, that's more like grade, middle school horror with punchline titles, short chapters, and monsters you feel like they might ask you to copy your homework. So the monsters in that were hokey. I mean, it had some chilling vibes. I think the atmosphere and the buildup was more scary than the big bad in the books, but that's just my personal opinion. And again, it was very formulaic, scare, laugh, cliffhanger, repeat. But you know what? It worked. And because of that, you had hundreds of books and dozens of languages, and generations of kids who learned page turning as a cardio workout. Yeah, I remember at recess one day, we weren't playing, we were reading Goosebump books or leaning over to the guy who got the new copy and seeing we get some spoilers out of that. Um, yeah, again, it was just something else. And I'm sure the librarians remember the stampedes and book fairs, the energy of sneaker drops, and the budget of a bake sale. Because you got lots of people in there, right? So what you gonna do? If you're at a library, you can't make any money. We're gonna sell baked goods. Um, so the brand leaves the page, and also in the '90s, you had the TV anthology that ran your sleepovers, two studio productions, one with Jack Black playing R.L. Stine, while the real Stine photobombs as a cameo. And then in 2020s, which is very recent, you have the Fear Street, which was a trilogy that directed our childhoods without a cursed amulet. So whenever there's an adaptation of the books to the film, there's always either a resurgence, because again, I remember Goosebumps being what we talked about, either by reading or watching the show. And then same with Fear Street, probably. Though I don't think Fear Street is kids friendly, so maybe the teenagers talk about it. I don't know. I'm not a teenager anymore. I have no idea. Unmasking the aliases. Again, we got the clown name of Jovial Bob Stine, who did joke books, Pun Barrage, Comedy Chaos. You got Eric Affabee. I mean, more humor output, yes. The man types faster than he can lose a bookmark. He really does. The amount of work that he just churns out is amazing. Zachary Blue, I mean, you pretty much again are just writing anything and everything under the sun. But for Zachary Blue was used on certain interactive and gamebook projects, and he has a couple other different pen names as well. And that's another thing when you want to rebrand yourself because you get typecast, I guess is the best way to put it. You can sell more books that way because some people will immediately ignore you because you're this certain author, and they brand you as such. So having a pen name can help you out, actually. How does he scare kids without scaring them? I mean, that's because they're not scary. I don't think they're scary. I think they're fun and entertaining, but I never really considered them scary. But basically, it was with micro chapters, trapdoor endings, and a shriek followed by a snicker. So even if there was a scary moment, it was immediately diffused with a stupid dad joke. Or an amusing dad joke, if that's what you're into, I guess. Dad jokes. Blah. Thrilling but safe. Training wheels for terror. I mean, for tons of readers. Goosebumps was the first series that you had to finish. So you'd be flashlight under covers, batteries at 1%, but it'd be worth it though, right? Just to get through the book. Because they weren't hard reads. You had big font, maybe, I don't remember, maybe 100 pages, if that, maybe. So what happened to Stine? He got advantage into a haunted portrait. He kept writing the Goosebumps universe, and it just kept evolving. Um, they did a reboot of the series in 2000, though from what I remember, he had no involvement, and they rewrote a lot of stuff to make it more in line with the 2000s. So no more bullying or name calling. I would say they watered them down. But that notwithstanding, you also had Horrorland, Hall of Horrors, Most Wanted, Slappy World, and House of Shivers. Slappy to me is kind of like the mascot for the whole line. It's a scary doll. It's the PG-13 version of Chucky. Um, but still scary. Less bloody, but just scary. Um, then he had Fear Street lurking behind lockers. He's doing public appearances still. He's still signing. He's still smiling. And he's weaponizing dad jokes. Damn you, Stein, and your dad jokes. Um, and he's got a website where he posts frequently too. And he's on Twitter and Instagram as well, where he does news, events, and releases like clockwork. He's got a schedule. He's a working man. So he's not dead. He's just busy making money. Good for him. Um, so a brief overview of a lot of the franchises that we kind of mentioned was you got the Fear Street, which is young adult, and that's been around since '89. It has many sub-series, maximum drama, and a minimal adult supervision, essentially. Then you got Goosebumps, which is geared toward middle grade, coming out in '92. All those arcs you remember, plus House of Shiver for today's rookies. The Nightmare Room, mostly ghostly, rotten school, early 2000s scares meets slapstick, pretty much. Just Beyond, Stuff of Nightmares, which is more comic and graphic novels. The comic panels chill nicely, I would say. I mean, I took a look at them. They're pretty neat looking, actually, artistically. Um, And he said in interviews he never planned to be scary. The comedy guy just turned out to be elite at making you squeal and giggle in the same paragraph. I mean, if that's not efficiency, I don't know what is. If you feel like he disappeared, that's pretty much nostalgia with a fog machine. I mean, he dominated our childhoods and then quietly kept publishing while we learned why we all learned taxes and forgot our pens. I mean, he's still here, online, on tour, and on shelves, handing new readers that perfect little chill. Um, so yeah, no curse, no mirror demon. I mean, it's a writer who pretty much just turned horror or tried horror out and became the Stephen King's of book fair. And surprise, he's still typing. I'll let you know, reader, you need to be very aware that he's still writing. He's still making more books that'll land on more shelves. Um, Hundreds and hundreds of books. It's crazy. So that's pretty much what happened to R.L. Stine. So now we're going to take a look at some of the books that I've been mentioning. So we're going to go ahead and crank up that screen share. Um, I will put links down below. They may not be all of the things we are going to look at right now, but it'll be a good sampling of his work if you're interested in picking up the series. But let's start with Bananas. So this is the comic, not comic, the magazine line that he was writing about. So we got Robin Williams, we got some Dukes of Hazzard over there. Looks like Belushi, young Brooke Shields, and Dallas. Oh, and here's Lonnie. So that's that. Blind Date, which I believe is one of his first ones. Yeah, it's from '86. So kind of terrifying. It's got great cover art. You got something ominous outside the front door, slowly cracking open, his mouth open. The lighting gives it a more scary horror atmosphere vibe. Then we got The Babysitter. I remember reading like one of these. I don't remember if it was the first one or not. It's a long series. I think there's like 7 or 8 of them. But even in movies, you have the dumb babysitter who goes investigates the weird noise because it's her responsibility, right? She's the adult in the house now. Um, but yeah, I mean, terrifying. You got hit and run. You got the chalk outline silhouette with some blood over it on the asphalt. You got the new girl. I believe this starts the shady side or Fear Street stuff. And yeah, got some cool little fog going on there. Then we got, what do we got here? Cheerleaders, Evil Liz and First Evil. Um, Cover, it's kind of hokey for my taste, but I do like the cover art for Cheerleaders of First Evil. You got the skull silhouette and the pom poms there. That's pretty cool. And then yeah, we got the Fear Street Saga right here. The betrayal, the secret, the burning. You got this fire thing going on and it theme going on in all of the covers here, as well as that lady going on. We got seniors. I'm not as much of a fan of this series. I don't remember even reading it, but cover art's really not doing it for me personally. However, I haven't read them, so I can't speak to the quality of the work. So I do know it looks expensive if you were to try to pick them up today. And let's see. We have Super Chillers, just a random sampling. Got the Runaway over here. That looks on point. Halloween Night. That looks really cool. Boyfriend. You got the bloody little needle going through the flower. That's semi neat. Okay, this one right here is terrifying to me. You got Santa Claus or maybe Mrs. Claus mannequins going on. Blood coming out of the mouth. Not a fan. Very creepy. This Bad Moonlight looks like bad karaoke to me. This Goodnight Kiss looks like a straight up romance, but eh. OG right here. This is what I remember. Here's my childhood. You have the original Goosebumps franchise. Remember the mask one? That one was scary to me. Remember the book and the particular episode was scary. Slappy, PG-13 version of Chucky. Very scary. Book was scary. Show was scary. Anything that has to do with him is scary. Creepy dolls are scary. I got the Scarecrow. Remember that? Remember the Mummy being pretty creepy as well. And we got the little Horrorland sign going on this one here. That's neat. Then you have the DVDs. Different cover art, but still pretty cool. Cover art's more of a mixed tone from the TV show. Even the physical disc has some neat cover art on them. Then you have the Blackjack film, and then I did not see Goosebumps 2, so I don't know if that's any good or not, but we got gummy bears, I guess, opposed to our gnomes. So probably that humor vibe going on. And then back to Fear Street. This is from the Netflix TV show, and this is pretty cool cover art. I do know they have an LP of this, which is neat to see LPs come back with the cover art and none of the text, or limited text, I would say. Then you have the 2000 series. Not particularly a fan of most of this cover art, but there are a few pieces like the most of this section here and the brain one over here. But some of them look a little hokey. I don't like what they did to Slappy over here. He just looks bizarre to me and not in a good, fun, bizarre way. Um, you got a Horrorland franchise here. Again, here's Slappy probably. Yeah, Slappy's New Year. I think he looks a little better. He looks a little bit more, I don't know, robotic, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, he is a dummy, but still. Just different style of art. Then we got Hall of Horrors. That's creepy right there. I think that's supposed to be a television set. That cat just looks goofy to me. That looks like something I would like, I don't know, hang from the mirror in my car. And I don't like cats that much. But that notwithstanding. What do we got here? Goosebumps Most Wanted. We got our gnomes. They don't look as hokey on the book. That's a weird weasel thing. Creepy clown, weird monster lady thing. And over here we got the box set for Slappy World, at least 1 through 8. So what do the books look like? Okay, it's not terrible. Got glare in your photo, lady. Hard to see the thing. So a little tip: if you raise the books up like at an angle, slightly, like put something underneath it, you can eliminate that glare with glossy covers a lot of the time. Um, House of Shivers. Okay, it's the first one in the series here, which is weird little bat goblin thing. And then we have Nightmare Room books. Okay, these look pretty cool. I think they're using real models, and this isn't really drawn per se. Maybe silhouetted over. I mean, some of these, like the Locker Skull and this Shadow Girl, probably. But the others look to be mostly real models. Um, Mostly Ghastly. This is a hardcover format. They look kind of neat. Again, a totally different style of art. And then we have Rotten School, a lot of 10 books. Again, very different. So, if we're noticing, we're going from our one of our first books, like Blind Date over here. That's very realistic to this. It gets a little bit more childified, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah, especially this. It's very interesting. So just beyond series over here, lots of stuff here. Artwork. It's got more of that comic vibe. I believe these are the graphic novels, one of them. So that's cool. And scrolling on down, stuff with nightmares, very cool, very creepy. I mean, yeah, entrails, cool. Chainsaws and rats. Yeah, now we're talking. Red murder. Yeah. Yeah. All of this. This is great. Oh, look. Santa from Hell. This is fantastic. I'm gonna have to add some stuff to my TBR just from the cover art. Really cool. So yeah, here is his lineup. Um, he's gonna be in North Dakota on October 2nd. He's gonna be in the Columbus area on the 23rd, and he's gonna be in Maryland on the 28th. And then he'll be in my neck of the woods, sort of. Austin's like 8 hours from me, in November. So he's still on tour. He's on the touring circuit. Um, Again, he's got a Twitter, he's got an Instagram, lots of cool stuff. And then also on his website, we got his bookshelf. If you can buy from the publisher directly, I recommend. Got some cool things going on here. Yeah, very cool. I like he's got a brain in his hand over there. Lots and lots of stuff. It looks like we got lots of pages there. And then what is this? Oh, he has a podcast thingy on his site. So that's cool. I didn't know he had this. I've added it to my to listen to list because I'm curious. And it's advised that you turn out all the lights and crank up the volume. And this is the story you listen to. Looks like it's got a few there. It's hard for me to get an idea of what it is. And they got different narrators, which is very cool. Again, this is on his personal website. Link for that will be down in the description. Then we have his writing program. It's totally free. You can download it from his website, and it's 16 pages of how to, and you can use them with your students if you have a class to teach, but it's how to get ideas and how to develop your ideas. And he gives his tricks and his secrets in the program. No money. He doesn't want any money from it. And he hopes that you have fun. So that's very cool and nice of him, actually. So yeah, there's some other things down here, I guess, that he linked from this thing, as well as how to use his writing program. To stop the screen share, I've hoped you've enjoyed our tour down nostalgia lane and found out, hey, he's still alive and he's still a working man, making money. He's going on tour. Yeah. Don't know when his farewell tour would be, but if you got a chance, go meet the man, shake his hand, give him a thank you if you're a fan of his work. They love that stuff. Maybe get something signed. Um, that would be super neat. So again, I'll have links for everything in the description. I have a Patreon going, which we're starting a book club. You can jump on board before we officially start. Link for that is also in the description. So again, if you like what we're doing here, feel free to check that out. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite R.L. Stine book. I'd love to hear about it. And I think that's gonna do it for today. So keep on booking on.